What's going on, you guys? It's Ariel here. Welcome back to the Gamer's Respite, where I have the absolute lovely, wonderful Ash Parrish sitting with me today. How are you this morning?
I'm surviving. We're doing okay.
We were talking previously before we started this podcast that we were seeing some Pragmata news drop, which, by the way, happy Pragmata release day to everyone who is getting the game. I did a full walkthrough over on IGN, so I'll pop a link down below in the description so you guys can check that out. But it's been chaotic. I played the entire game. I can actually talk about it now. I am going to be doing a review on the game, but we're going to get into so much. I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm excited to talk about this, but also kind of worried about talking about this as well, to say the least. But Ash, you are a former writer at The Verge. You are currently in your heart still writing right now because you are still looking for opportunities at the moment. For those of you who don't know currently the scope of what you do, why don't you fill people in?
Yeah, my name is Ash. I've been a video game journalist full-time for the last 6 years, but freelancing off and on for the last 10. I got started at Kotaku back in 2020, just writing about whatever came off the top of my head. I'm really into reviewing character creators because I'm very into how video games depict African-American hairstyles. Yeah, that's just, what I've been kind of made my career off of for the last 10 years. And it's been a great, great ride.
That's really amazing. And we've seen actually the improvement in video games with black hairstyles over the course of a decade. So I think we have you to thank for that, honestly.
Can't claim nothing for that, but I'm glad to know that people are finally starting to pay attention.
Yeah, there was one game that I absolutely fell in love with, and I don't know why I am blanking on it, but the two main characters who I saw were black main characters. I was like, they did the hairstyles so much better this time. Oh my God. Because I noticed
it's always exciting to see. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I always notice that it's the same like generic hairstyles with like whether it's in Overwatch or Valorant or wherever I see them. And it's just like, I love these games, but there is a variety of different styles that they could use. And they were finally starting to use them, after a while.
We need to get away from the Killmonger cut, which is like the fade, but like the dreadlocks, like we call that the Killmonger cut. Like if you are a black man in a video game, you've had that haircut, and I need our people to be free from that. I need us to branch out beyond.
It was really awesome to see, especially with South of Midnight. I feel like that game explored that. I was like, it was amazing. That was my personal game of the year when that came out and I played it. I had so many different emotions running through me from the Southern culture that was there with the music. The music,
like, yeah, absolutely. Like the gospel choir and stuff like that. Like I'm sobbing playing this game. Like just can't hardly play because I'm like, ooh, crying so hard because it was so beautiful. Like that was a fantastic game. I think that's been nominated for like a Peabody Award for like narrative design or whatever. So congratulations to the folks at Compulsion Games.
It's
they
incredible.
Did an amazing job. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the games of where I have to nerd out for a second about the music because when I played that game, I remember distinctly a part of the game, it was at the very end, they managed to sync up the way the beats of the music hit with the hits that you are beating the enemy with. And I thought that was just chef's kiss. It was
I love that stuff.
It was so good.
I love that stuff.
And it was such a testament to incorporating lore that is factual and accurate to a culture in the right way within a game. Like this is why, and I always scream it to the rooftop, this is why DEI is so important when it comes to gaming and creating the stories naturally, because you can bring someone in the very start of the process of the video game and have them guide you along. Well, this is the correct way to do it instead of bringing them in at the very last minute.
Yes, absolutely.
So one of the first topics, I just hit the microphone, I just like backslapped it, Jesus Christ. One of the first topics I want to dive into today is the discourse that is apparently already surrounding Pragmata. So if you want, because you brought this news to me when we just started talking, you're like, we need to talk about this. But it's a very important subject, and I want to preface this by just saying a massive trigger warning for dog whistles that are within the game. So if you guys have not played Pragmata yet and you've only seen the trailer and minimal stuff from either IGN or any other news outlets, just a fair warning right now. So what were the news that you were telling me when we first started this conversation?
Okay, so Pragmata is a game. It's a really cool game. I got to demo it at Summer Game Fest last year. Gameplay wise, I thought it was really interesting. Like Capcom has been on a tear for making these. I want to call them like PS2-esque games. They're like kind of smaller in scope and a little bit weirder. So they had Kumitsugami, which was one of my game of the year a couple years ago. Like that was fantastic. And now you have Pragmata. It's like this combo, like shooter puzzly thing, like adventure, fun time, happy, yeah, yeah. The problem that I had with that game is that there's this character, Diana. She's this little child. She's not a child. She's a robot that's made to look like a little girl. Like she's, very cherubic. She's got this long blonde hair. She's like, that little cute and, that kind of like caricature-ness about her. And she's very off-putting because she feels like I hate saying it, but she feels like not I don't want to say the word, but it feels like it's very much like lolicon or like pedo bait or just like we're trying to wink, nod, nudge, acknowledge this kind of like sexualizing this small child because she's teamed up with this man in armor. She's running around like barefooted. There's I actually heard that there's weird. Like an explanation for why she is, and it's very much along the lines of like Quiet from Metal Gear Solid, where Kojima was like, once you understand why she's in a bikini, you will be ashamed of your words and deeds. And it was like that explanation was really lame once you got the reason why he has this woman running around in bikini, and the same reason, I won't spoil it, but the same reason why like this Diana child is running around barefoot. It's like, oh my god, come on. And it's just like, it's really strange and kind of off-putting because it's like and the thing is that people are starting to understand or see or acknowledge that there are all kinds of like pedophilic dog whistles around this. So just this morning, Capcom announced a Twitch badge for the game because it releases today that you can get or whatever. And it's this, this little chibified Diana crying, and people are like, oh, that's a veiled reference to this other pedo meme that's been on 4chan for years now. And everyone is like, oh, okay, so Capcom is doing this knowingly. They're knowingly courting this this kind of like weird gray area between, are we sexualizing this small child or are we not? Is she just an innocent little girl? Blah, blah, blah. I don't really care about authorial intent. I am more than positive that Capcom does not mean to do this, but the fact that they're making these choices and that people are seeing these dog whistles or whatever, or seeing them as dog whistles or saying this is this or this is not this, just creates this miasma of discourse that is already exhausting. Like, I don't know what to do with it because I feel strange and bad, trying to ascribe like malice to the execution here. But at the same time, I'm a woman who has lived in my body for all of the years that I have. I've seen the way our society treats young women and girls, how we sexualize them, how we code them for innocence and all this kind of stuff. And I'm seeing these patterns repeat with this game. And what am I supposed to think? So I'm tired is what I say.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things of where, as someone who was, in the female body that she is in from birth, it is very distressing to see not all, but some people dismiss it even from the get-go, where like even when the trailer dropped, a lot of like, my peers and other folks were saying like, this is strange. This is a little off-putting, the way the child has adult features on a child's face. It was really, really off-putting. I will say, to the game's defense, it does get better as the game goes along. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil anything for people, but it is one of those case situations of where at first it's really off-putting and it's kind of weird. But then as the story goes on and you see more of Diane's character, I thought we have to protect this child robot at all costs. She is sweet, she is kind, she is adorable, she is an absolutely amazing character that Capcom has created. It's kind of like a father-daughter situation when you get to the middle towards the end of the game. So it does mellow itself out Fortunately, very
Glad to know
fortunately.
that. That's what I was really
Yeah.
hoping for when I played the demo. I'm like, I really hope they even this shit out because it's at the way that it's being executed, at least in this slice that I played at Summer Games Fest. Like, this is just too much for me. So I'm glad to hear that they've kind of like corrected the ship a little bit as the game goes on. I'm excited to play it. Like I'm gonna crack into it when I get off this call later to see what all the fuss is about. But yeah, I'm excited to see that relationship develop because one of the things that I did hear in all of the reviews that I watched that it's a great story, like a great dad-daughter story in ways that we haven't seen before.
And that's the thing too. If we're like, it is a good story up to a point. I do have to. I'm the weird one out of where it's like when I look at something critically, I'm just like, I need to not let something affect me just because one aspect of the game is cool. Like that's just the way I tend to lean towards doing my reviews. And I thought that if I were to give a numbered review for this, I don't technically give numbered scores to my reviews anymore. If I were, it would be a 6.5 or 7. The story in and of itself is okay. It's not fantastic, but the entire I have to choose my words very carefully here. The entire glow of this game, for me anyway, was the combat and the bosses. They were very, very good. They were so excellent. And I swear, if someone calls this a Dark Souls game, I have some choice words. Okay.
I mean, that's good to hear. Like we love 7 out of 10 games. Like that's kind of the score that we've kind of hit upon. Like this is actually a perfect game. Like a 10 out of 10, no. 7 out of 10, that's like the sweet weird spot of like really quality weird ass games. So I'm glad to know the PS2 ass Capcom game is back.
You see, and that's how I felt about Forspoken. I really enjoyed that game, but it reminded me of the PS2 era kind of game with kind of the awkwardly placed fade outs into different sections and the way that the character had this awkward New York attitude about her. And I'm just like, you know what? You are stereotyping New Jersey right now so much, but I kind of love it.
I
Right
love
now.
that game. I will go up for
It's
that
so
game.
good.
That is like my personal like heart game. Like I will protect you from all of the haters. Like Forspoken is my absolute jam. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's one of the interesting parts about I think games journalism is where we can love something for what it is and love it on the merit that of the way that it is given to us. And that's okay. Like nothing has to be absolutely spectacular, mind-bending creations like a Baldur's Gate 3 or a Resident Evil 1 classic. It can just live in its own universe existing on its own merit.
It kind of makes criticism harder because I can being in the games journalism industry for as long as I have, talking to video games journalists and playing all these different games, like I can often see what a game was trying to do. And I feel I get into trouble with myself because I feel like I'm judging a game based on what I think it's trying to do or what it was aiming for, but maybe didn't quite hit versus what it exactly is. And that's like not the kind of, at least for me, that's not the kind of space I want to be in as a critic. But it's like, I see what you're doing and I appreciate that you tried, even if you didn't exactly execute it perfectly. And I appreciate that effort more than anything else, which makes reviewing games kind of weird.
It is, and that's why I think the beauty of subjectivity is really cool too. Because I've gotten some weird comments on my YouTube channel of where people are like, "Well, you can't necessarily be entirely subjective with a game review," and I'm saying, yes, you can, because it's your own lived personal experience with a game. Its story, the way the characters are, everything. With my experience of Pragmata, it is going to be so entirely different than that of other female peers or even male peers. And
Exactly.
it's a conversation that I've had with other journalists as well of where, how do we review this game exactly whenever it's really good in a lot of places, it's solid, it has a good foundation to it, but in other parts it's absolutely lacking. And I think that that's kind of the balance that you look for of where to give constructive criticism for a game. So that leads me into the other question I had for you. What was a game that you reviewed where it was such a hit and miss, of where you were like, you liked certain aspects but you genuinely were just so worried about how the review would come across to readers?
Oh, that's a good question. I think one of the games that sticks out to me is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Uh, I'll give you some inside baseball for that one. That review, code for that review, I think came out the weekend of Thanksgiving, right? and they gave us a really, really short turnaround for the review. So you have this like American holiday that's like this big to do where you're, with your family, and you have to try to balance like, okay, family time with I got to do this work. And it led to like a rushed trying to get through the game as much as I could. And I couldn't do it. Like I just physically was not possible with all of the obligations that I had with my family. I couldn't finish the game. I only got like to like halfway point. And I did not like the first half of that game. I did not like the first half of that game at all. And my review was based on that. After the review came out, I was able to get through the rest of the game and finished it, and found that I liked the second half so much more, that I was actually kind of upset. Like if I had had more time, or if this review, had been not given over like the biggest American holiday, like I would have had more time with it. I would have been able to write a much better, more complete, like, my opinion of the game. And that's just one of those like things that just like really sticks with me. Like, man, I wish we didn't structure the way that we do business like this, where we have to hit embargoes, and it's the rush to be first, it's the rush, to get yours up at the same. Yeah, it's bad because it doesn't give you. That's not the ideal circumstances under which you want to play a game. This is not how normal people play video games, right? They get to formulate their opinions over time as they get to sit and marinate with the game. I don't really necessarily have that luxury, and that informs and that impacts how I talk about games. And I wish we had more time with those kinds of things, but the nature of the business is what it is. And that's just, in my experience with Indiana Jones, is just one of those like kind of things that I stick in my mind for when it's time to review games, that I try to make sure that I take my time with it. Like I'm no longer rushing to finish a game, or no longer rushing to, make sure that I get everything done that I feel like I need to do. Like I want to play this game like a normal person would play a game, and talk about what a normal person's experience might be with it, that kind of thing.
You hit on something that I've been talking about for a while. And it's so, I feel so, this is why I'm so excited to have conversations with journalists who I haven't talked with before, because it feels like we're all screaming the same thing, of where when we try to hit an embargo for something that is meant to be sit down and, like you said, marinated with and enjoyed. Because the average person, if we take away the content creators, influencers, journalists, everyone in media, 9 times out of 10, people are going to not only not get the game when it releases on the day of, they are most likely going to be taking at least a week or a month to complete it, with life responsibilities, kids, you name it. Now, I can say from experience, I am a part-time caretaker for my dad. And it is a massive thing of where when you are a caretaker, your responsibilities are divvied up so much that you are on call at all hours. It doesn't matter when. So for me, finding that sweet spot of, okay, I can sit down, I can start notes for a review, I can do something else, is going to be the same if someone is taking care of a newborn, or they need to put aside time for themselves. And I feel like not a lot of reviews take into the account of where people's time is precious. And if you're working for a company, whether it's freelance or, from my experience, doing something of where like you get a key from a company and you're like, oh yeah, you can review it on your own time, that's fantastic, because they don't ask you to put that pressure on yourself to have a specific release date. And that leads me to another thing of where it's like, do you think that there should be an accountability that is held for companies to, how do I want to phrase this, to make sure that the game is presented in the best way, most accurate way possible for a review when a code is sent out, whether it's implementing new rules for embargo, whatever that may be?
I mean, it's in their best interest to do so, right? Like you want to set up the people that you're working with, your partners, for success, to make your game look as best as it could. I understand why, because, they have to work on the game. They have to iron out all the bugs. They have to get it out and get it up and get the marketing, wheels going and going and going so they can, sell this game. But like, just and the nature of development is what it is, that things are being worked on up until the 11th hour and beyond. So I understand why things work the way that they do. But one of the companies that I remember when I was still working full time at The Verge that would give you luxurious amounts of times with games is Nintendo is really good about that, with their bigger, longer games. They'll give you time to play with it and sit with it, like. And when I say luxurious amounts of time, I mean like maybe like 2 or 3 weeks. It's not like the most amount of time, but it's a lot better. Yeah, like a lot better than most. Yeah, and it's to their benefit to try to make this as easy as possible. Because another thing that we talk, that I run into, like this friction when I review games, is that I don't want to tell like a 30-year-old or whatever, like someone in the middle of their life, like who is interested in this game, like you have to take such and such hours before it gets good. Like people have, they have all the responsibilities that they have. They have, only so much money or a budget or whatever. And it's really hard to make a case that this 30 to 40 hour long game gets better after the first 15. Like who has that kind of time, right? Who wants to, that's also really difficult, because at the same time, yes, this is true. I do want you to play this game, but I also need you to be aware that this is kind of what you're up against if you try it. It's really interesting trying to walk that tightrope when you're talking about those kinds of games.
Oh yeah, and that's what I have to always keep in mind. Like even with Pokopia, I'm reviewing that right now, and I know that one's going to be late to the game, no pun intended, but it's going to be something where I'm taking my time with the review, and it's unfortunately one of those games that takes like a little bit to really get your bearings in, like with the management of storage. And yeah, exactly. And it's just like, I mean, Ditto alone, that uncanny valley smile that it has as a human, I couldn't get past that for like a good like 2 to 3 hours when starting the game, because it was just kind of off-putting. And I was like, okay, you know what, I can see what they were trying to do with the character, but also it's an interesting way of where we'll also have so many reviews to do at once. Like I'm currently doing Pragmata, Pokopia, and I'm currently playing whatchamacallit. Why did that just escape me for a moment? The coffee is not hitting right now. Apparently, the title of the game. Oh my god, BioShock. I'm currently playing that for the first time, and I'm doing the first one. Okay. And I'm doing a review of does it still hold up in 2026? So it's going to be interesting going into that. And we normally, either by choice or mandatory from the company that we work at, for people's knowledge, put either a lot on ourselves or the company does that for us. So I want to know from your perspective, what was a period in your journalistic career, I should say, that you felt as if I don't know how to manage all of these different kinds of reviews. Like what were you reviewing at the time, and give people like kind of a scope into like the life of a journalist?
So it was not necessarily with reviews. Like people tend to think that a journalist's lion's share of their work is reviews. That's not true, depending on the kind of journalist that you are. Mostly it's like small news hits to make sure that, your site is refreshed with new content and stuff like that. Like, always got to have new, now. And I think the question that you're asking more specifically applies to when I first started at Kotaku, because that was a trial by fire. Like I love all my Kotaku people. Like I will always love my time there, but that was my first full-time job, and learning to manage like writing like 3 blogs a day is a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot. That is a lot. Trying to find the news, trying to write it, trying to get it up fast, trying to make it interesting. And then you got to do that like 2 and 3 and 4 times a day. Like that's tough. And when you don't hit those marks, you feel like you're failing, right? Like, oh my God, the site is going to go under. They're going to fire me. I'm a terrible writer. Why did I try to do this at all? I'm dog shit journalist. I should never have had this job. That was tough. That was tough. And I eventually transitioned to a new place of work at The Verge, where those restrictions were a little less. And it's like, oh, okay, because I cut my teeth at Kotaku, I can do anything anywhere now. Like I have those chops now. I can do this. It made it easier for me to work in a place that's more, I don't want to say normal, but more laid back, less stressful, right? And that was invaluable experience. But it's more than a notion. and trying to meet that kind of demand of content. And whoo-wee, if you're in those kind of like blog minds nowadays, like I salute you.
Yeah. And also, by the way, sorry for the lack of clarity on the question there. I was trying to phrase it in a way of where it would be like, well, how do I not piss off people?
Oh, I don't care about pissing off people. Like readers, I don't care about pissing them off.
I've got to that point right now, and it's just like, I think it started with my review of Fallout 3, and a lot of people are like, oh God, Ariel, here we go. And it's like, I always have to bring this one up as a reference point because that one was the one that almost got me doxxed, like for the first time. Yep.
Wow.
I called out the racism in that game, and I also called out the massive bugs and just inconsistencies in the story of where it's very convoluted. And people were just not happy with me. It was like a mini Gamergate I had on my hands. And it was weird. It was a weird situation because that was the first one where I didn't care what people thought. I just reviewed it straightforward. This is how it is. This was my experience. And apparently a lot of Fallout fans did not like that. So
I feel like there's a point in every journalist's career, especially if like you're a woman, especially if you're a woman of color, well, you'll do the funny thing is that you'll never know what it is that will piss somebody off. You will never know, because I tell this story all the time. Like the one thing that got me the worst harassment of my life wasn't like, talking about Gamergate 2.0, which was pretty bad. I had to get the FBI involved with that one. It was when the PS5 and the Xbox Series came out. And I wrote this funny little tongue-in-cheek blog at Kotaku, like, I don't want the Xbox because the top of it has those little holes. And I have like that thing where it's like those little tiny holes kind of like freak me out. Like, I think it's trypophobia or whatever. Yeah. I talked about like that shit. They lit my ass up for 40 days and 40 nights. Like, it was ridiculous. The things that they would send to my inbox, like with the express intent of triggering me. It was so terrible. And I was just having fun. I was just getting my little hee-hees in. And so when you realize that there is nothing that you can prepare for, that you can set somebody off for just the littlest things, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, okay, I don't care about pissing you off because I'm going to piss you off no matter what. Like, and I won't even try to, and I'll still make you mad and make you come after me or make you like leave threatening messages on my voicemail. So I'm just going to shoot the shit and whatever. And if it hits you, it hits you. I don't care.
it's the way that people are over that. They got
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. It was crazy. I can't explain it. People, when I tell this story to people who are not in the video game industry, they look at me like, you're making this up. Like, no, I'm not. Like, this is
people
really
are that
happened.
weird.
Yeah.
People are just that weird. It is so kind of a mini story time. I experienced my first Gamergate with 2.0, and I'm about to sneeze. Oh gosh. I'm sorry, excuse me.
Adorable little sneeze. It's so cute.
Comes Amita. Oh my god, can you not know?
It's allergy season, y'all. We're going through it.
I'm going to hit my nose so bad right now.
I don't think that'll help.
It's not going to help, but on the surface it might. What is that? A ram? Like, I feel like I should just like do like what a ram does, like butt heads just to clear.
Yeah.
So, I do want to dive into this next topic. Now, I have mentioned this previously with my story and my personal experience with Gamergate 2.0 that occurred. But it's really interesting to get to meet others who have experienced some of the same or similar harassment. As we all know, I think the one who got the most of it was our dear friend, Alyssa Mercante. I don't know how she dealt with it the way that she did. She is just a warrior, honestly. Mm-hmm. Some of the things that were hurled her way, especially by a Smash GT, were some of the worst harassment I think I've ever seen in the gaming industry. When people were telling me about Grums and telling me about the entire situation, I didn't understand how massive it was until I decided one day I would call him out for a lot of the things that he was doing. And then I went back to my computer a few hours later, flood of just people.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then I thought it was nothing of it because at the time I was still using Twitter. I'm off of it now because the harassment had gotten so bad. And I want people to understand the reason I'm talking about this is because it's still prevalent, it still happens. And because of the things that have happened to us during Gamergate 2.0 and Gamergate 1 even, it's something that leaves a mark and it leaves an impact. So, and one of the things that I noticed that was really interesting was because Smash put me on the list on his website, he made it clear that, okay, this person isn't someone that we like to go attack her. I still get people from his comments commenting on my things and on my live streams. And I would love to know what your experience with it was, because I want to be able to have more just people like speaking what their stories were about what happened to them.
Like, I came into it pretty much the same way you did, like we're just having conversations about video games in public, like with on Twitter before I decided to, forget that shit. Um, it's so strange the way people conflate criticism of video games with direct attacks, right? And just trying to explain things like, from a journalistic, holistic, viewpoint or whatever, like it makes them kind of crazy. I don't know. It's strange and weird and bad. And my experience with Gamergate 2.0 is just like, I want to talk to the people who have been impacted or are being impacted by this, like trying to explain how video game consulting works. Like on the face of it is just like something that these people just do not want to hear. Like, I am telling you from the people that I have talked to who do this work that the way that you think games are getting made is not happening this way. Like, and it doesn't matter. Like, you can show them all the facts. You can show developers in their own words talking about how, we hired Sweet Baby, remember Sweet Baby Inc., to help us with this video game development. It's not happening the way that you're saying this is happening. Like, we asked them for help. They're not telling us what to do or how to change your game or how to make Saga Anderson black or whatever. This is how it works. And that people just don't care about facts. They just want to, get their little content off or whatever, or drum up outrage because that's clicks. And you remember Twitter would pay for that, right? So it was not great. I wound up writing a piece for The Verge about Gamergate 2.0 because I actually spent some time in, these discords where these people would hang out and whatever, just to observe, kind of like anthropologically observe, like, who these people are and how they behave and what they really feel. And my takeaway from that is like, these people are just really sad and they want connection. But the way that they've chosen to form connection is through mutual grievance instead of other things. And then all of the other things, like the human ways that you would connect with each other because you like the same video games, because you like, the same TV shows or whatever, that comes after the fact. But the uniting purpose is like, we hate women and brown people, which is like a backwards way to go about it or whatever. But And after writing that piece, you get a bunch of people who are like, and that involved people calling my phone and leaving like threatening messages, and I had, like I said, I had to get the FBI involved just to because I'm scared of getting swatted, so I had to call my local police department just to let them know, like, hey, please don't show up at my house with guns if somebody like calls in like some kind of SWAT interference or whatever. That's not happening, because I'm a black lady, cops show up at your house with guns. That doesn't turn out well for me, typically. So yeah, like, and now, and the thing that I notice about it is like, yeah, I don't care if I piss people off, if I'm gonna write what I want to write, and I've been blessed to have editors that are typically okay to let me do that. But sometimes it's the reactions that I know I'm gonna get are so wearying. They tire me out in advance that it makes me want to pull back just a little bit so I can avoid potentially touching whatever live wire is going to spark the next round, right? Like, I don't want to deal with that. Like, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. Like, I don't want to deal with you guys right now. And I know if I get too close to this specific topic, it's going to set you off. So I won't do it. But I care a little bit less about that now because you can't beat my ass anyway. So
It's interesting that you say you had to go to the FBI about it, actually, because I went to the police about a similar thing that was going on with how many, like, I have an entire folder with over 150 screenshots of people acting weird. And there were death threats, there was dog whistles of anti-Semitism. There was a lot of it. And I went to the FBI and they said, unfortunately, we can't do anything until something happens. Right. And that is...
By then, it's too late. Like, something has happened, you know?
It's a collective sigh, I feel like we all feel, because it's just like, okay, well, it's the police being the police. It's upsetting, and what else can you say about it, really? But also, it's kind of the thing of where, like, what do you do? It's kind of like you feel like a helpless sitting duck. And I'm not, like, psychologically, it's been weird waters, as you know, to traverse, because I feel like all of us from that point, I wasn't involved with Gamergate 1, but with Gamergate 2, I feel like we all have a collective PTSD, if you will, because anytime I know I open up my Bluesky or even my messages where I know there isn't going to be something harmful, I get a momentary, like, pit drop in my stomach of where it's like, oh God, what shithead is going to come after me? What's going to happen? More or less, I think it's a state of mind that these people are in, of where it's like they actually think that what they're saying is factual. And they think that we are the delusional ones. It's kind of like how we hate Trump supporters and we hate MAGA. That's how they think of us. And it's a really weird mindset.
And it's also interesting because I feel like people who do experience that kind of Gamergate 2.0, that kind of like targeted harassment campaign, they go through like the same steps where at first it's like, you want to fight them. You want to present them with the facts. Like, this is how you're wrong. Here, 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 and here. Like peer reviewed, like dissertations complete with like links and bibliographies of here is where you are not correct. And then and from there, it's like, okay, you fight them and then you realize fighting them isn't working. And then you kind of ignore them and then ignoring them isn't working. And now it's just like block on sight. Like if you breathe at me funny online, I block you now because I'm no longer interested in fighting these people, even though I know that they're wrong. Like it's funny because I feel like every person, at least in my personal friend group that has experienced something like this, they go through the same like learning progress. Like first it's fight, then it's ignore. Now it's like everybody can catch these blocks.
Exactly. And that's the weird thing because people are like, Errol, why you block so much? It's like safety. I don't want to deal with this. My mental health is more important to me than any of these fuckers. Like that's a weird thing of where it's just like, I used to care so much about what people thought of me and my work. And then it got to a point of where it's just like, fuck you guys. I really could give a shit. Like, what are you doing? You think I care? Oh, wow. That's cute. Okay.
And I'll tell your boss you're being racist. Like, I will at him for you now. Like, you want to play these games? Like, let's go. Okay, come on. Because I don't give a fuck. You don't sign my checks. You don't sign my checks. And the people that sign my checks know the kind of person I am. They hire me for the work that I do. So nothing you can show them or whatever is enough to like, you can't be my ass. So go away. Like, goodbye.
I know for a fact that at IGN, my assigning editor, Mark Medina, absolutely just amazing human being. I know that he would back me up 100% if I were to ever experience any shit like that ever again. Shout out to Mark. You're awesome, dude. And it's just one of those things of where like, it was the same thing with, oh my gosh, Alana Pierce. During the entire moment of where people did not believe, she was a writer for Santa Monica. She was, and no one believed her. And Santa Monica entered the chat and they were like, actually,
exactly.
And it's ridiculous because people don't understand the amount of work that not only goes into maintaining a job like Alana's in the industry, but also the amount of credit and credibility that you have to have in order to also maintain a job like that. You need to be a good fucking human being. That's all it takes. That's the thing. Like, be a good human. Understand that there are ways in which you need to navigate this industry, yes. Obviously, reading the room, but also be aware that, like, I used to run my mouth so much. Like, you would have you would have laughed at some of the things I said to these people. But it got to a point of where it's like my kindness towards others and the way that I approach the people who are in my life that I care about are more important to me than clapping back at these losers. Exactly. That's what it finally came down to. And that's the thing of where it's just like, I feel like I don't know about you, but I can assume that we've kind of grown into our own piece about things that if this were to ever happen again, we would approach it in a completely different way.
Yeah, that's why I say like we all go through the same patterns of learning, and we're at the point where it's like, fuck you, I don't care. Do whatever you need to do. I'm gonna be over here doing what I do. You're sad. I'm not. So
Yeah, I think it's also a jealousy thing as well, because whenever published, I think it was one of the first walkthroughs that because the first walkthrough that I did at IGN was for South of Midnight, and that was
oh,
incredibly fun. It was amazing. I absolutely loved my time with it, and there were so many weirdos online that were like, "Oh, she's giving the game a high score because the person in it was hired by DEI." I'm like, huh? No, I'm giving the game a good score because it's actually a good game. Like that's all there is to it. Like you could be uncomfortable somewhere else. I'm not.
yeah,
I don't have to
exactly.
answer your questions. It's just weird, the jealousy and the weird attitudes that they come up with. Like there's different YouTubers, they do those really awkward thumbnails, and they're just like, I don't claim them. I'm a content creator. I'm not that. So don't lump me in with that. Like I could literally go off about so much of it.
I know. Trust me. I know.
So the next topic that I wanted to dive into is talking about something really positive, because we tend to talk about the reviews that we are really critical of, or things that we should have done better, or things that we could have written better. But I want to know what your favorite pieces that you've written, whether that's a news article or a game review.
I'll give you two. The the thing that I hold in my heart as one of like my crowning achievements of my career, I always say if I never work in video games again, I'm glad that I got to do this. But are you familiar with Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater? Yeah. So there's a very famous song in that game, right? It was sung by a Black lady, and she also did "I Am the Wind" for Castlevania Symphony of the Night, but her name is Cynthia Harrell.
Oh my God, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So I one day I was like, I wonder what happened to her. So I started to Google, and people, I was reading all kinds of like Reddit threads where like, oh, I think she passed away, and like, but I don't, we never heard from her. Like, where is she? Like, what's going on? So I put on my little journalism hat that says press on it and dived through Facebook to find this woman, and I found her. And I messaged her and I asked her, like, would you be willing to give an interview and whatever? And she said yes. And it was a great interview that's on Kotaku, right? And from that interview, like, she had been essentially like rediscovered. Like, she would, and we wound up having like this really close personal relationship. Like, she has my number, I have hers. She calls me, I call her my auntie. She would call me and she would be like, Ashley, I'm so mad at you because I have so much work to do now, because people are calling her. They want her to go to like conventions and things like that, and to like sign things, because she had essentially been rediscovered. And the Metal Gear Solid, like, it was an anniversary. I don't remember like the anniversary years or whatever, but she told me that they had called her to go sing in Japan for like the anniversary of the game. They recorded a new version of Snake Eater for Metal Gear Solid Delta, the remake that just came out. And it was, I hate to say it was because of me. Like, that's not wholly true, but I was the only person who like decided to go find this woman. Like, no, like, nobody else had like a thought to do that or whatever. Like, I made sure that this Black woman, who is such this small but big part of this game that is so important and is so beloved, that I was able to ensure that she got her flowers while she was still alive to receive them. You can't tell me shit. Cannot tell me shit. If I never do anything else in video games again, I did that, and for that I am inordinately pleased. So that was my favorite bit of like journalism. But my favorite review I did was for not Metal Gear Solid. It was for Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker. And my editor let me have a good time. He let me write the review like a songfic. Do you know what a songfic is? Like, from fanfiction girlies from way back in the day, we used to write these things called songfics, where we would write a story to like the lyrics of a song or whatever. So I wrote the review as a songfic where I'm reviewing the game, but I also had lyrics from one of the Final Fantasy songs in there, like interspersed throughout. And it was like all thematically appropriate, and the lyrics were tied into like what I was discussing. It was such like a vanity piece for me, but I was so happy with it. So yeah, that was one of my favorite reviews that I've done.
I love that. That's amazing. I absolutely love that. And the opportunity to interview someone.
You poor child. She's a beating your ass.
I swear to everything unholy. My God. You know what, you guys? I'm not cutting this out. I am leaving this in.
The struggle is real. You need to know.
My God. Holy shiitake mushrooms. Oh, good God. It's one of those things of where, like, I remember I sneezed at one point, and just to poke fun at my friend, I was like, Pikachu. And he was like, why are you this way? I was like, you're welcome. Before I was so rudely interrupted by my sneezing, that's just an absolutely amazing thing. I love that you got the opportunity to do that. And the first story that you told, like, she has an incredible voice. And the fact that she was rediscovered like that was absolutely amazing. And I can already tell, like, kind of like the loving sarcasm where it's just like, I got rediscovered. Now I have all of this work.
Yeah, yes. Like I love that woman to death. I'm so glad that we were able to connect like that, and that she was able to like reemerge, I guess, and receive her flowers, and people know that no, she's not dead. She's very much alive, and she can very much still sing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Oh God, I think I'm now going to have to say mine. So 2 reviews that I did that I really loved and were very impactful for me. One of them was Death Stranding, the first one. And I was writing that during a very difficult time in my life. My dad had a heart attack during the time that I was writing that game. And he's still around. He celebrated his 83rd birthday on the 15th.
Yay.
And yeah, it's just, he acts like a 15-year-old, but you know, he's very young at heart, and I love it. And it was one of the situations of where I was dealing with potentially losing my father 5 years ago. And when I reviewed that game, the concept of the beach, the concept of having your own...
It's a heavy game. Like, Death Stranding with that kind of stuff. Yep, I can see how that comes together.
It really is. And I was writing the notes for that in the waiting room of the... excuse me. Oh, my God. I was writing the notes for that in the waiting room of the hospital. And it was at the time of where I had all of these different self-imposed deadlines that I was trying to meet. And one of them for Death Stranding, it was due like in the next 4 days. I set for myself, and I thought, how am I going to do this if I'm still at the hospital? I need to make this work. I need to try. And the review came out so well. The video was, I think, one of the best ones that I did for a review besides Detroit Become Human. And I was so incredibly happy and proud of how Death Stranding came about. But seeing the humanity and seeing someone who, like a father who you assume they're going to live forever, they're immortal, seeing that break down a little bit while you are also living and doing your own thing and progressing in life is a weird thing to have to deal with, of where you're experiencing life while they are slowly ending theirs. And it was...
Oh, don't make me cry. Don't do that.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. No, sorry. On a Friday, too. Sorry. But it was one of those things of where, like, he always has instilled in me of where, like, he's an atheist, and so am I. So he always instilled into me, like, making your own choices is the most important thing you can do for the longevity and happiness of your life. And he was like, I don't care if I'm on my deathbed eating a Snickers bar and trying to recount my earliest memories. You are going to do you, and you are going to live your life, because that is what I want you to do. And that is the best thing you can do for yourself. So, and that's why it's such an important
Why are we
review.
Emotional?
I don't know. It's
That's so awesome.
Let me clear my tears with my coffee.
I know, right? And you think about like that, the message of death and rebirth and that kind of stuff combined with Death Stranding is like, ooh, okay, yeah, you hit that at the exact same time you were supposed to get those lessons. So
exactly. Okay, why am I
that's really beautiful. Okay, let's take an emotion break.
Yeah. I know, right?
All right.
Oh my God. Yeah, and that's the thing too, of where it's like what a lot of folks who blab their mouths on Twitter and sometimes Bluesky don't understand is that when you play a game and you pay for it, or you're sent the code, whatever it may be, that you're the one who's playing the game. So it's your experience. When people try to tell others how to experience a game, it comes off as very gatekeepy Souls-like, sort of. Because as someone who is a Souls and Souls-like creator, I absolutely hate whenever people are like, no, you need to use this build. You need to use a blood build with a scorned liver of the past sunflower. Like, no, absolutely not. I'm going to play the game the way I want to. And if that's boinking things over the head until my fingers bleed, I'm going to do that. So it's giving that energy very much. And I don't like whenever people think that, oh, I know this better than you. Sit down, Karen.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, what? No. Oh, but
my favorite Souls build is it was Erd Tree, Shadow the Erd Tree. It was before they patched it out and nerfed it, but the perfume build where you could just like spray perfumes at things and just melt health, that was so much fun. I was so pissed when they nerfed that shit. That was incredible amounts of fun.
For a second, I thought you were going to talk about impenetrable thorns. I hated that they nerfed that.
No, I had a perfume build. That was fun times.
Oh my gosh. No, I feel like a smoking grandma right now with how much I'm coughing at the moment. It's just like, how are you, darling? We're going to talk about Souls games.
New York. You should do a review like that one day. Like, that would be very funny. Like a very New York game. Like, go review Miles Morales, but you have to use that voice the entire time.
Wait a second, no, it's perfect just to have the voiceover be like, and today we're gonna go over and swing from building to building. I don't care what you think, the bagel's on the ground, but he had the rest of the coffee.
Wow, that's funny.
Oh my god. It's so
I'm sorry
weird
if these don't get that chaotic, but I'm having a lot of fun.
Yay, that makes me so happy to hear. Oh my god, no, because like a lot of people, like I even did this for Pokopia, of where I said, this is the most New York Pokemon. It was Conkeldurr. And he was like, a little bit of eating, a little bit of sleeping, but at the end of the day, we get things fixing. I'm like, this is the kind of guy who has half of his coffee and throws the rest of the bagel away.
Oh
this is so weird. It's such a New York Pokemon. And I absolutely love it.
I have a small New York story to share. I was in New York last week for the Yoko Kanno concert, and I've been to New York before, but it's usually in terms of like work or whatever, and I don't get a chance to like experience the city. So I got a chance to experience the city for the first time, and I was on my way to breakfast. Like, I found a restaurant that I was going to go to, like this. On my way there, I saw this like little hole in the wall like bagel shop and whatever, and saw a bunch of like construction guys going in there. I'm like, all right, let me have an authentic New York experience. So I went in and I had the best donut of my life, and I asked for coffee with cream and sugar, and this man handed me the most perfect, and I'm very specific about my coffee. Like, it has to have the right amount of cream, the right amount of sugar. It can't be too sweet, it can't be too like light. He gave me the most, like, I just said cream and sugar. I want a medium coffee, cream and sugar. He gave me the most perfect coffee I've ever had in my life. And I'm like, you are a wizard, sir. And it was a great, like, oh, this is like you guys live like this every day? This is kind of awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, best donut.
It's
best
so
cup
good.
of coffee.
It's so good. And it's just an entire, like, I don't mean to like make this as funny as it's going to sound probably, but it's the vibes too. Like,
Good vibes.
You go into New York and it's this kind of like, and this is why I kind of give people the comparison of where like, I'm Carrie Bradshaw in Sex and the City, but for the games industry because I'm in New York. And it's so interesting to see like the magical nature of New York, and it's never left. It's just kind of been buried underneath time and soot and debris, and people really have to like rediscover it again, because I feel like after 9/11, that was kind of like the innocence of New York kind of slowly fading away, as well as ours, because like, we were all like, what, how old are you when 9/11 happened? Because I think I was 9.
I was in high school. No, wait. Yeah, I was in high school. I think I was a freshman in high school. How long ago was that? That
was like 25 years ago.
Ooh, I don't want to think about how old I was 25 years ago. So
fair though, fair. And it's interesting to think about, because like when that story actually perfectly illustrates like a really true like New York experience, because I remember when I was like 13, I got my ears pierced for the first time, and mom was like, let's go, New York and get some earrings. And I remember the way that they talked and me spending so much time with authentic accents from New York, and that's just it. I fell in love with it. And someone was like, hey, Tony, you get the pizza from over there. We're going to go to the barbecue and then we're going to have, Sheila over. And we're going to, talk about things. We're going to talk about little Timmy. We're going to talk about him. And, it's one of those weird things where it's like, I love the accent. And ever since then, it was my goal to like just experience it over and over again. I know I talk about New York a lot, but it's literally my home. Like, I love it so much. It's an ingrained part of who I am. So hearing stories like that, amazing. So... But one of the next topics I want to get into, and this is going to either ruffle some feathers or kind of lull people to sleep with a lullaby and be like, yes, we understand this. We're on the same mind path. Okay. Is Xbox. I don't know what's going on exactly because I
don't think they do either.
It's you're gonna get me in trouble. No, I'm just joking. It's one of those weird things of where I don't know what the Project Helix is. What is it? What is this an Xbox? Is this an Xbox? What is an Xbox exactly now?
No, remember they threw Sarah Bond under the bus with that shit. So that's gonna quietly take that one out back. I don't care anymore about consoles. I'm the Dr. Manhattan meme. Like I beyond the care of mortals. I don't care for their petty squabbles anymore. Like we're done with the console bullshit or whatever. Put all of your shit on PC or just don't talk to me. We're trying to these console makers are trying to figure out, exclusivity versus broad appeal versus, all those kinds of different things that, they used to do in the past, but are finding that that's not working for them anymore as everything gets way too expensive and people's times are fractured and people spend, instead of playing multiple games throughout a year, they just play one and it's the same one and it's either Fortnite or Roblox, right? So, they're trying to appeal to an ever dwindling market because younger kids are no longer buying consoles, A, because they don't have any freaking money, and B, they would prefer games that they can just play on their phones because everything, the games that they are being raised on, like, iPad babies, they transition right into mobile. Like that's what they do now. So it's getting harder and harder for these console makers to attract this new audience. So they have to monetize the audience that they have. And so we're throwing shit at the wall. You've got Game Pass, you've got like all of these, bring in Halo to PS5, all these different schemes to try to make more money out of this market that they have, even though it's not really growing all that much, even though we're spending more and more and more and more and more money on fewer and fewer like platforms and ecosystems. So the money is still there, the money is still flowing, but it's going increasingly to the same spots. And now these companies are trying to, make it work. With the exception of Nintendo, because we always have to say that Nintendo gets a little asterisk and it gets put on Mars because they just do not abide by any rule and it still works for them. God bless. But Sony and Microsoft are still trying to figure this shit out. And some of it is working and it worked for a little bit. Game Pass worked for a little bit. Sony doing their PC stuff, it worked for a little bit. And now they're like, shit, it's not working anymore. We got to figure out something new. And that's where we're at. And I'm like, most normal people, even the games journalists are like, I could not care less anymore. I just don't.
It's tiring.
It's interesting to analyze from like a business perspective to see, how they figure out and navigate these new waters or whatever. But other than that, it's like, figure your shit out and come to me when you figure it out. Like, is Project Helix, whatever it's going to be? Okay, great.
Yeah. And it's
we'll see.
It's interesting to see like how consoles have gone because I used to absolutely love Xbox. I used to love it because in 2016 that was the first console that I got to start my content with was an Xbox, and I remember playing Ori and the Blind Forest, and that was like, whoa, this is amazing. Like that was my first Metroidvania I ever played, and it was it's so interesting to see the kind of the rise and fall of where consoles are going, because as someone who owns a Steam Deck and Nintendo Switch and both of like the main players consoles, it's weird to say, but like I prefer playing on PS5 and PC over my Xbox now, where it used to be Xbox and PC were my main ones. And I'm going to go a bit on a rant, but bear with me on this train of thought. when I first started with Xbox, I was like, wow, they have a really great controller. And then I played the PS5 and I was forever changed because I realized that Xbox, and this is a criticism that I've given to Xbox ever since I played Vampire the Masquerade Swan Song, of where the controller vibration and where the accessibility of the controller is absolutely horrendous. There was a point in where Swan Song, you had like a power up ability and you were learning new assets and powers, and the controller would vibrate so violently that I could not hold on to it. I would like feel like I was going to throw up. So I had to put it over on the bed, let it finish what it was doing, and then resume playing again. And it's kind of weird to me how you can make a really great console, but not upgrade the controller at all whatsoever. And the only... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you finish your thought.
And it's really weird to me how like the only thing that they upgraded about the controller was the capture button. And I believe there was one other button that they upgraded on there, but it was like some hardware that they upgraded as well. But that was basically it. And it's the same as the Xbox One for all intents and purposes.
It's really strange the way that functionally, don't beat my ass over this. And that goes for the viewers too. Those two consoles are functionally, to me, the same because most of the games that I play are on both systems. But if you gave me a game that was on the Xbox and the PlayStation, doesn't matter, like some third party, whatever, for some reason I'll pick the PlayStation over the Xbox, and that's an instinct that I cannot explain within myself because I do not care. They're the same things. They do the same things. Like I don't care about graphics or whatever, blah blah blah. That none of that really matters to me. I'm a story girl. Like I want a story and an experience, and I don't think those experiences are fundamentally different between the consoles if it's the same game. Don't beat my ass about like the Switch versions and yes, it can be different experiences depending on the console, but we're not talking about that. It's specifically with these two, but I'll pick the PlayStation and I haven't been able to figure out why I do that. Cause like, I don't care. But the real gag is that if I can play on an Xbox, a PlayStation or a Switch, I'll choose the Switch every time. Or the Steam Deck.
Yeah, the Steam Deck.
Time.
I love the Steam Deck.
I think it's the portability. I think I just love sitting on the couch, just like, and having a second screen. And I think the Switch and the Steam Deck allow for that second screen.
When I got the Steam Deck, I was so ready to go all in on it, and I felt so incredibly happy with the fact that I could play Baldur's Gate 3 in bed. I was so happy with that. And it's such a wonderful piece of machinery, and that makes me excited to see what the Steam Machine is going to be when that finally releases, which I'm predicting it's going to be around like $1,200 at most.
Probably more than that. Lord.
Like the fact that they're marketing it as a PC already increases the price of it. But one thing I find it's very interesting is that at the core of it all, when people fight over PlayStation or Xbox, they're fighting over pieces of plastic. Same with Pokemon. You're fighting over a piece of cardboard. And it's really weird and kind of childish to me. But at the same token, I feel like it's one of those like angry man, like getting pissed off at the clouds kind of situation of where it's like...
It's absolutely a holdover from where these consoles were the exclusive things that they were. And you did build your identity around these walled ecosystems that just don't exist materially as much anymore. So yeah, it's just a vestige of that, and we are seeing it die. Like it is dying. Like it is almost, God willing, dead. Like we don't have to have these kinds of conversations anymore, but we're starting to see with PlayStation pulling back from, doing their PC releases and Xbox doing whatever the hell it's doing. Like I feel like they're, at least PlayStation anyways, pulling back into this like, no, we're PlayStation, we are exclusive, this is what we do. Like we're not going to put our shit everywhere anymore because that like waters down our identity or whatever. But
well, yeah,
who knows?
One thing I'm curious about is if they're going to be putting Saros on PC. That's one thing I'm going to be very interested to see, because they did that with Returnal after a while. And they made it like a big thing where they were like, oh, we are re-releasing this game. We're going to make it for PC now. And that's why I told people, like, while exclusivities have their place, you literally can play anything everywhere. I mean, if you can play Resident Evil on a Switch, an Xbox, a PS5, a Steam Deck, wherever you have it, you can definitely play more of these games anywhere you can. And it's one of the things of where I said this to someone else to another guest that was on the podcast, but in my humble opinion, I feel like Xbox is in the process of sundowning, where they are going to turn into Sega more as a publishing company instead of actually making hardware.
I feel like that choice is going to be made for them eventually because they just, with all of the money that they spend doing their AI stuff, like they just will not be able to continue to support that business in that way.
Yeah, and
so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And that's the thing too. I mean, I don't know about you or anyone else, but I'm currently in the process of taking part in the boycott of Xbox and Microsoft right now. So
yeah, like that's not really hard for me to do because I don't play that shit anyway. And it's really bad to say. Like I feel bad. There's a lot of great Xbox games that I really enjoy. South of Midnight is one of them. I love OG Halo, but it's like what have you done for me lately? I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Is the question that I have for them, and it's like it's not really worth it anymore to support them, especially now in light of everything that's going on with the way that they do their AI and the BDS boycott against them. It's like this is a really easy decision to make.
It really is, and it's just like until they get their shit together, which I highly doubt is going to happen anytime soon. I'm not partaking in any of the Xbox releases that are from Xbox publishers. Now, a lot of people get it confused of where it's like, oh, but they're everywhere else, Ariel. Why can't we play any of those? And it's like if they were solely published and made by Xbox, that's the thing. If they were made by so-and-so company in Japan or in Canada or anything like that, support the devs, play the game, that's fine. But it's Xbox that we're focusing on for the boycott specifically. So, but yeah, and another thing I'm curious about, in your opinion, whenever it comes to consoles in general, do you think we are going to start to see a decline of consoles being made, or do you think that because of the rising cost, I should say, of consoles and parts for consoles, do you think we're going to see a decline in them being made in the future in 27 and 2028?
I would be really surprised to see. It doesn't make business sense to me right now to release a PlayStation 6 or an Xbox, whatever. It just doesn't make sense to me. They're gonna do it anyway, but I don't understand that impulse. Like, I feel like, why are we making new consoles in the first place? Like, what are they going to do differently that the PS5 or the Xbox Series don't already do? That just, I don't understand. I don't really understand that. And I would be, and it scares me because, like, these companies are going to put all of this onto their new thing, and you're spending all this money on manufacturing and trying to market this new thing, and the audience, the market that they need to show up for them, I don't think they will. And that's going to cause a lot of pain points for them down the line, such that we're going to see the continuation of this like industry decline with more layoffs and things like that. I mean, Xbox, after they, unhinged their jaw and swallowed Activision Blizzard whole, like, how many layoffs did they do in the years after that? Like, how many people did they let go? It was a lot, right? And I can only foresee more of that happening, like, as time goes on and the market doesn't show up for their new shiny thing that they spent millions and millions and millions on. It's really scary. I hope that something happens where we can alleviate the stress on the market in terms of like PC prices and RAM and all this other stuff. We get the fuck away from AI and all that bullshit too, to maybe juice the market a little bit. But I don't know. I feel like more of these companies should be taking lessons from Nintendo, and they just absolutely patently refuse to do so. And they look at Nintendo and all their, success and how they've kind of insulated from like the fluctuations of the industry that we've been seeing for like the last 4 or 5 years now. And it's just like, no, line must always go up. I don't know. I don't know.
It's very strange.
I hope that
to
answered
say.
the question.
No, it does, and it's weird to say the least, because I feel like, as a journalist and as someone who really loves different pieces of tech and wants to see the best for the companies, you kind of got to throw your hands up. And I'm not doing 6'7" right now. I swear to God, if people say that, but you got to throw your hands up and say, I don't know what to make of you right now, so I'm going to wait and see. Lurking like Kermit the Frog in the shadow for a bit to see what happens. When you guys decide what you want to do, we'll be available. And that's the thing. We're going to cover a lot of different topics in this industry, whether that be whether it be other decisions that Xbox makes because they're making them for the consumer, not just for the company. And that's what I want to make people aware of, is that I can't believe I'm saying this, but Nintendo right now is more of a consumer-based company with their goals and how they are doing things currently, especially with the release of Fire Red and Leaf Green being for $20 a pop. They could have easily milked nostalgia and made them for $50 a pop. So, I mean, with Nintendo being the way they are right now and Xbox being very not consumer focused at the moment, it seems that we see the direction where they are heading. But I could be wrong, you know?
I mean, like I said, who knows? I don't even think they know.
And that's
Sarah Bond, if you're listening, please call me. I would love to talk to you. She hit her head on that glass ceiling turbo hard. That's just all, glass cliff. Always happens. So
yeah. And I feel like once you put your whole self and being into a company that you love and you want to see succeed, and then to have something like this happen, it's very disheartening. So it's, I don't know. I listen, we're looking for that interview, Sarah.
Yeah.
But the next topic I want to dive into, which I'm so excited to get your opinion on this, is, are you excited or are you looking forward to, what is your opinion on GTA 6, upcoming GTA 6? I can already sense the somewhat excitement now.
Oh man, that is a load-bearing pillar of the entire video game industry. I remember Matt Piscatella. He's an analyst over at Circana. Shout out to Matt. He's a great, fantastic video game industry analyst. And like a couple years ago, we're talking about GTA 6 and we're hoping that GTA 6 comes out because it's like a rising tide will lift all boats, right? That GTA 6 being this juggernaut that it is will contribute not only just to sales of like new consoles, but like new peripherals and all this other things as people upgrade their stuff in order to, experience this game. And we're hoping, and that was in the middle of like the worst of like the layoffs and the contraction of the video game industry and whatever. And then it just continues on and on and on in development and gets delayed and delayed and delayed. And, Rockstar is pumping all of these resources into it. And it's supposed to, like, the load that I'm very curious as to what kind of targets and metrics 2K is using to judge the success of this game. Because whatever it is, like, I can't see GTA 6 having the same cultural impact GTA 5 did, because we released that game across 3 different fucking console generations, like legitimate, like the Xbox 360, the PS4, PS5, like it's crazy the longevity that game has had, and because of it, it has become like, it takes up this mind share, right? And of course, because, these video game companies, our line must always go up. You have to have those same kind of expectations for GTA 6. And I just don't see how that game meets them. I just don't. Like, this game will sell millions of copies. It'll be like the biggest game of whatever. But because it is not big enough, it will still be seen as a failure by the people, like the bean counters at 2K. And that scares me. Because, like, that's like, it's like I said, it's a load-bearing pillar, right? Like, if GTA 6 can't hit with the megaton bomb that it needs to hit with, like, we're in trouble.
That's it. You were saying exactly what I said on Bluesky when I did a post about the fact that GTA 6 is either going to make or break the gaming industry as a whole. Because when we look at the complete powerhouse that GTA 5 was, story-wise, culturally, everything that it had to offer, that was something new that was brought to the table. You can't really bring much new to the table anymore because a lot of things have already been covered in games for the most part. It's like, whenever I played that game, I played it for the first time last year. And it was one of the most interesting things, hearing the N-word being spout out every which way. I felt bad covering this. And I was just like, wait a second, am I allowed to hear this right now? This is kind of weird hearing it from a white dude in a video game. And it was so interesting to see like the different stories taking place. Him hearing, what was it? The character call Trevor a hipster. It made my day. It was like, you're a hipster. I can't believe it. And my username online is Huggable Hipster. So whenever I hear that, I'm like, I love this. This is
Yay.
amazing. And the fact that like the story has such richness and the guy, and I just realized this because I'm watching the entire Walking Dead series for the first time all the way through. I always stop at like season 2 or 3. And the guy who voiced Trevor is in The Walking Dead. I'm like,
Oh, which
I
one is
love,
he? I don't know that.
he was the, one of the right-hand guys of Negan.
Oh, I didn't get that
Yeah.
far, so never mind.
Oh, okay, never mind. But it's one of the like he's such a good character, and I was like, oh wait, I know who you are. You're amazing. You're a great voice actor, but goddamn, you're a psychopath in GTA 5. So it's really interesting to see like the culture. And I remember when back in my Twitter days, when I played it, I got and people are gonna probably call me names in the comments. I don't care, but it's because I'm a human being. I reacted to this in the way that it was with the torture scene in GTA 5. That was it was weird. It was very weird. That was the only part of the game that I did not jive with. And I actually sat back in my chair and I was bawling my eyes out. Like that was just not it was not a fun time doing that. And I'd said that to people on Twitter and they're like, well, I'm glad you're mentally stable. I'm like, me too, I think. Okay.
That didn't sound quite like a compliment.
I mean, like, I got people calling me a pussy in the comments as well, where it's just like, okay, yes, I mean, I cried when I am literally torturing them. Like, what? It's like, I'm sorry, I chopped off your dick. Like, what do you want me to say? And it's a weird thing because if I play GTA 6 and I don't feel the same way that GTA 5 made me feel or more, that's going to be a bit of an issue because I feel like they have such
they can make it.
They have such a high bar to reach.
Yeah, like to the point where it's like unreachable. Like you've set yourself up too much on a pedestal and now it's too high and it can't be reached. And that's why I said I'm just so powerfully curious as to what the internal metrics are at 2K for what will mark this game as a success. Like it has to be something astronomical, right? I mean, why make GTA 6 when you make $1 million a day with GTA Online, right? Like I mean, not to say that you don't need to, but it's like powerfully curious. I don't think it'll live up to the expectations that people have for it, and I don't think it'll live up to the expectations like the business people have for it either. I would love to be proven wrong because that means scarier things aren't going to happen, but we'll see if that game even can make it out. Like, God, it feels like Rockstar IT, like, girl, are you okay? Like, blink if you need help. Like, all these leaks, all of the bad press with their union busting, like, Rockstar stock at this point, at least in my consciousness, maybe not for the, average person, is like at an all-time low where I don't even care. Like, I haven't seen enough of this game that makes me think it's even worth playing, right? Like, we've seen a couple of trailers and none of it's been gameplay, I don't think. We know about the characters and whatever and their story and all that stuff, but like I haven't even seen what this game will play like, and we're so far out still. Nothing that I've seen so far makes it interesting to me. Maybe all that stuff is coming, but what this game's supposed to release like fall of this year? It's supposed to. We'll see if that happens.
I feel if I remember correctly, I think the date got moved to November of this year, if I remember correctly.
Just in time for holiday 2026.
Yeah, get some Grand Theft Auto with your Christmas presents. It's just it's weird, and that's the thing too. Of where like I'm excited to eventually play it, but if it turns into a Cyberpunk 2077 situation, those neon yellow screens have scarred me. Okay, I'm not
The
okay.
thing is, like, I don't even think Cyberpunk 2077 is like applicable at this point because it launched, it delayed a couple times, it didn't launch very great, but then CD Projekt Red, they gave it time and they didn't abandon it right away and they made it better such that okay, now as all these years later, like it holds up in a way that it didn't when it first came out. And I hope you don't see that with these bigger games anymore. Like you either come out and you're a hit or we just have to scrap you, like case in point High Guard. And I hope because of the investment Rockstar has put into this game, that they don't immediately abandon it. It would be very foolish if they did. If it comes out and it doesn't hit with the way that they expect it to hit, or it comes out and it's kind of buggy or whatever. Like, ooh, I think that's one of the things that they're definitely trying to avoid is an initial Cyberpunk 2077 issue where it comes out and it's garbage, like in terms of like technically.
Yeah,
That would be murder.
I hope they don't abandon it, because the people who work at 2K and have created these worlds are just incredible, because like Red Dead Redemption 2 is a perfect example of an incredible world of where you have diverse stories, you have different like ways in which you can approach different quest lines. Like, it is such a massive world, and something of where the storyline is one of the richest I've ever seen in a video game besides Death Stranding. And to see that, that's that, and GTA 5 is what's making me excited for GTA 6, because I see the potential and I see what they already cook with and how they are bringing it to the table. But the way in which I'm seeing only trailers and not really much gameplay and everything is making me just a little bit worried. So
who knows? We'll see. It could go either way.
Oh man! So one thing I actually am curious about, because we have a few more topics to land on before we end off the podcast, which I do want to say thank you again for joining me. It has been an absolute pleasure to chat with you.
It's been so much fun.
I'm so glad you had fun. It really is, honestly. Like, I always get kind of like preemptively nervous. It's just like, oh my god, I don't know how do I make it like this fun or anything like that for guests. But I'm glad. So, but one of the next topics I wanted to dive into is accessibility. Now, one thing I do want to let people know is that I am a motion sickness person. I do not do well with anti-gravity sections. I don't do well with a lot of motion blur. And Pragmata put in a motion sickness setting specifically. I have to give flowers where flowers are due. It's incredible. I can actually play the game no problem. I want to know, in your opinion, from experiencing as many games as you have, what is one piece of tech, like accessibility, camera, whatever it may be, that you would love to see improved from your experience playing games?
That's a difficult question for me, because I typically don't have those kinds of issues where I would need to make use of accessibility settings. I'm glad to see them, and I really think it's fun the way that certain developers will take these kinds of things into consideration. I'm thinking of the thalassophobia mode for Horizon, I think Forbidden West, and I think thalassophobia is like fear of like deep water. I don't remember the specifics, but they had something in there for that, which I thought was like really great. Another one was Grounded. Like, they had, if you're an arachnophobic person, instead of being like, oh, what do you expect? Like, you're playing, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. There's going to be giant ants. Like, we're not going to play at your own risk. But they still took into consideration, and maybe because they probably expect they want to court a younger audience of like kids who like spiders or bugs, icky. So they have to make that a little bit more easy for them, for their experience. I think it speaks a lot to the way that we've progressed in terms of games that are for everybody. They can be for everybody. We can reach so many more people if we just take certain things into consideration. And at least more than anything, that is what makes me happiest. Like, we are taking those things into account so we can have as broad an appeal as possible, and we're not doing anything like having conversations or arguments about authorial intent or get good or whatever. When you think about like easy modes for a Souls game, which we're not going to talk about because I don't want to step on that bomb.
Which honestly, I do have to say, there should be accessibility, but people conflate accessibility and ease of playability way too much.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So those things always fascinate me. I'm always glad to see them. I wish more developers beyond like Insomniac and Naughty Dog and those usual suspects, whenever there's a new game come out, like, it's those people that get all the flowers for doing their accessibility stuff, because they do above and beyond with like their colorblind modes and then their audio processing modes and things like that. So yeah, like I guess this is not the best answer that I could give, because I don't typically make use of them, but I notice when they're there, and that's what makes me feel good about where we're going as an industry.
I completely agree. And it's, it's interesting because it's like, I always say this to people of where it's like, I use the example of Elden Ring of where
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I would love their text and I would love the brightness when it gets to Radagon to be turned down just a tiny bit, because when
Mm-hmm.
you see that bright light when you're entering into that final cutscene, retina burning. I would love if companies took into account that sometimes people's eyes can't handle like the intense brightness that comes with that, or if someone can't see correctly some of the time when they're seeing like smaller text, there's no like shadow drop on the text
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the time in Elden Ring. So that's like one of my pet peeves that I have of where it's like, even though like I have 2120 vision, I still have to like squint to see like this. Like, okay, did that say hang or hung or what? I don't know what he's talking about in that text. So it's always a point of contention whenever I see people talking about accessibility in video games. And we will get into the Souls and Souls like stuff. I will, leave that conversation for another day. I actually talked about it with Finding Cowboy, and we were discussing the difference between accessibility, ease of playability, all of that, which you guys can check out if you see the rest of my content on this channel. I don't know where I'm pointing to. It's somewhere. It's around here. You know what I'm talking about. But the last topic that I want to discuss is, what is a game that you feel like people don't know enough about that they need to play?
Marvel's Midnight motherfucking Suns.
Yes, yes, yes.
um, Actually, I want all of the praise that we have for Insomniac. I want to take that and I want to give it to Firaxis and Square Enix. Like, though the Spider-Man games that came out in that era were really, or this era, were great. They're fantastic. They deserve the accolades they get. But also, so was Marvel's Midnight Suns, and so was Guardians of the goddamn Galaxy. Those were great games that did not get their due, and you should play them.
So
Like,
good.
if you know anything about me at all, if you follow me on Bluesky or Twitter or wherever, you know that like the three weird ass games that I go up for is Forspoken, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Marvel's Midnight Suns. Like, it's, and especially with Forspoken, like I feel like I should get like some kind of like some deal with Square Enix, because every time somebody comes to me like, okay, I finally give Forspoken a shot, and you were right, Ashley, like an angel gets its wings. Okay, it's there. Those games, especially Marvel's Midnight Suns, is so fun, so interesting. Yes, the social bits can be a little bit tiring, but I don't know. I just think it's fun that you can have a book club with like Blade and Captain America and whatever and all that. It's just fun. It's just so much fun that people just could not get into for some strange reason. Same with Guardians of the Galaxy. That was just like a really great
So good.
RPG. Just
So
such a
good.
great action RPG. It's not perfect, obviously, but it's one of those 7 out of 10 games that are just like, ugh, I need like 10 more like it. It's like, I don't know, it's not like the filet mignon meal. It's like your straight up meat and potatoes stuff. Like, it's not gonna like wow you, but it's gonna fill you up, right? Like, it's the meal that you eat every day, not the meal that you eat like once in a lifetime or whatever. That's just gonna completely change your perception of food. It's just like your regular nourishment. And we need people to understand and appreciate games that are not like the filet mignons, but are like your 8 ounce steak from a Texas Roadhouse. That shit's good too. Like, you can eat that shit every day. More games like, and more companies are going for the filet mignon and the beef wellingtons and all that kind of fancy schmancy high expensive high fine dining stuff, not realizing that I think more people want to just eat normal food, from day to day to day. Like, I liked that meal, I would like to have another meal like that, and instead of like these big, quadruple A experiences. So those are, they're not my favorite games, but those are like my please play this game, like please experience this so you can understand why I'm crazy and why I keep talking about them the way that I do.
I love that you compare it to food, because I didn't have breakfast and I need to have all the food right now. I am so in love with Guardians of the Galaxy. Rocket, just favorite,
Oh
absolute
man,
favorite. Rocket, just absolute
just
rocket.
the character work they did in that game,
Yes,
especially with Rocket,
it's so good.
like talking about like a bodily autonomy with like this little raccoon creature and shit like that. Oh, who does it like that? Nobody. That's so like the kinds of conversations that you can have that have real world impact if you are just willing to try. That was a great game.
And the
That
thing
was a
is
great
like,
game.
I would compare it to a girl dinner of where it has a little bit of everything that you want. It has your Ritz. It has the little cheese cubes. It has like a charcuterie board. It has everything that you could possibly want in there. Like, it's fun. The fact that you had like these moments of where you had huddle ups and you could be like, all right, team, let's go. We're going to focus in. We're going to do this. I was like, I loved that I was hyping up characters that weren't even real. I loved this so much. It was everything to me. And I feel
It
like
was so fun.
so many people need to play that game. It is so good. I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. So 2 games I would highly recommend for people. If you are into disturbing kind of psychological horror, then you are going to love Frambo. I would highly recommend it. It is one of my favorite 2D side scrollers to play, and it is story wise one of the best done indie games I have ever seen. And this came out, I think it came out 2016. I could be mistaken, but it was one of the first horror games that I really dove into on my YouTube channel while I was doing playthroughs, and it reminded me why I love psychology so much, because you have this moment of where Fran is put into a mental institution and she's given pills that she can switch back and forth with realities. So she has the regular reality that the doctors see, but she has the reality that you're solving like with puzzles back and forth, kind of like before the medium was the medium. This was what that thing was. Instead of it being like,
that makes sense.
yeah, instead of it being like a screen side by side, you took a pill and you were in like another dimension or another world. You went back and you were in like the regular doctor's world and everything. So it's very good. Highly, highly recommend it. I think they just went through a little bit of a remaster with the game right now. So it's on Steam currently. It's very good. Another game that I would highly recommend is Deathloop. I don't think it gets enough praise. I really don't. It is, for me, a really fun, interesting game. It kind of reminded me of, oh my God, why am I blanking on the name right now? I think it was Insomniac who did it. Why was I about to say Happy Feet? Holy shit. That's not what it was. Oh my God, why am I spacing on the name? It's where everyone was wearing a mask.
We Happy Few. No.
We Happy Few. That's it.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of the same kind of mechanics and comedic timing as We Happy Few. And definitely,
same vibe. Same that weird like retro 60s vibe. That was a great, interesting little like puzzle shooter, kind of like social deduction puzzle shooter. That was really fun. I remember that. Like, yeah, that was not my GOTY that year, but it came very close. I think did it win GOTY? Did it win Game of the Year its year, or was it nominated? I'm not sure. But I remember the buzz around that. And that was an Arcane game, wasn't it?
Yes, I believe so. So I confused it. I thought it was Insomniac at first. My bad. But no, I think We Happy Few was done by Insomniac. People are gonna get pissed at me if I don't look it up right now. Hold on a second. I want to be accurate with things right now.
Oh, that was Compulsion.
Oh, that was Compulsion.
The Midnight Vote.
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, it was not Insomniac. My apologies. My complete apologies.
Deathloop was an interesting game. I did like it very much.
It was really fun for me. When I played through it on the PC, I didn't have as great of a time with it on console because some of the bugs I was experiencing, and I didn't get to finish it whenever I was going through it the first time. Absolutely love the way like the comedic timing, the dialogue, the backing and forth in between both of the characters. For me, it's something I would highly recommend. It's a little hidden gem, and just as kind of like a little honorable mention, it's an oldie but a goodie, Blood Rain. I will always take any opportunity I can to kill zombies.
You meant that shit.
Listen, this is when Laura Bailey first started.
Yeah. I haven't thought about that game in a long time.
Yeah. I will take any excuse I can to kill Nazis as a vampire. Okay.
Valid. Very valid. I very much love the Wolfenstein reboot for that. It was good stuff. We need more Wolfenstein.
I need to play that game. I have not played it yet, and I need to so much. It's one of those things of where, like, I remember that I wanted to play Blood Rain when I was a kid. if you remember back in the day when we would go to Best Buy, there were CDs that you could get of the game for PC. But since graphic cards were only for companies and they weren't exactly for consumer purchases back then in the early 2000s, it was very difficult to get a game to run on like a Windows 95. So when I tried to upload it and download it to the PC, there was like a waiting thing with like old Vampire the Masquerade 2004 style music that would pop up with like a loading bar, and the computer was in the center console of like the house that I was in when I was a kid. So my mom came in one time from doing groceries and she's like, why does that woman have her boobs out? I'm like, this is a vampire game, but we're killing Nazis, so I have the right to do this. I can do this right now. And she's like,
this is okay.
What? She's like,
pass.
No. and she stopped me from playing that game entirely when I was a kid. And I was, you know what? And valid, I was 10 years old. I should not have been playing that when I was 10, but I was allowed to play, what was it? Resident Evil 1 Remake, which was the very first game I ever played. So.
Wow.
Interesting, right? I went in, I was like, I told my dad this, and he was like, you know what? For when you're older, we can set it aside. It'll be fine. And I ended up playing it finally in college. I was like, this is adorable. But I will always recommend that game because it is a very much an oldie from 2004, but it is such a goodie. It's one of those games that's just, it's there to remind us how far we've come in the gaming industry.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
So, but Ash, I do want to say thank you so much for being on this podcast. It means a world that you took the time out of your day just to sit down and chat about the games industry, sneeze a little, the whole 9 yards.
I love the opportunity to yap about video games. I still love it very much, despite the fact that it has not been the kindest to me. The thing that I love the most is just talking to other people about how much they love video games, whether they're making them or they make content about them or they write about them. That is always like the most fun part about my job, just hearing other people, how much they love what they do and they love video games. That's the highlight of my job. So having the opportunity to do that outside of my job is always a treat for me. So thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And it's kind of like I get told by a lot of my friends that I'm the golden retriever of the industry, of where it's just like, I really just love being here. Like, I just love it so much and it's so much fun. And of course there's things and there's shit that happens in this industry that's out of our control. But at the end of the day, we are a huge community, but we are also very small and tight knit. Mm-hmm. And it comes to a point of where it's like, treat others with respect, treat others with kindness, lift others up in this industry, because you never know what could be just around the corner, what could be their flowers that they could be getting. So it's something
you never know what people are saying about you in the rooms that you're not in, and make sure it's good things. So, because we all talk to each other and we all know each other.
Exactly. And that's why I remember having a podcast with Paris Lilly, and it was absolutely wonderful to get to talk with him. Yes. And it was one of those things of where it was like, I asked him, I was like, so I'm curious, did you decide to take the time out of your day to do this podcast with me? And he was just like, I got the opportunity, and I'm paraphrasing him right now, so sorry, Paris, but I remember he said, I remember when I got the opportunity to interview someone who was massive in the industry and everything. I'll never forget it. And he was like, what is it to take time out of a Saturday morning to just chat with someone and everything? And that started our friendship. So it's one of those things of where it's like, I absolutely love the people that I've gotten to know, and I love the fact that we're starting to grow our friendship as well. So it was just an absolute honor to have you on here. So thank you again.
Hey, you know where I am. Call me anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys like our faces and what we do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below. May your coffee treat you well and life give you a nat 20. I will see you all in the next one. Bye, you guys.